Okay, everybody, we are back to talk about comics and will they make good films? Find out right now what this week has in store with Marvel, DC, and Independence and Kickstarter books. Right now. All right, thanks for joining me. This is the new episode of what we have for this week with Marvel and DC and the indie books, as well as stuff I've gotten from Kickstarter. And I'm judging them based on not only the comic itself, but will it make a good film? How is it written? Is it written with a story that will translate? And on top of that, how's the art? Is the art good enough to be cinematic? Let's find out right now. This is my only DC book for the week. This is World's Finest, Teen Titans by Mark Waid, and he's going in with this World's Finest thing where we have Batman and Superman, and now we have Teen Titans because in the general continuity, the Justice League is disbanded, and the Teen Titans are taking over as the new Justice League. And if you're wondering why I'm so red, if you're wondering why I'm totally sunburned, it's because me and Tim Russ, who played Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager, he directed, I first AD'd and line produced a little proof of concept for someone. So we did that. We shot in the desert for all day, and this is the end result. All right, so getting back to Teen Titans. So this is going back in time to when the Teen Titans first were brought together. So it's showing, it kind of goes back and forth between their adventures, their interactions with one another, and how their mentors feel about them with the group. So we have, if you want to look at the cover here, we have, and that may look like Tim Drake Robin, but it's not. That's actually Dick Grayson. We have Wally West, which I originally thought was Bart, but it's Wally West. Garth. We have Bumblebee. I don't know Bumblebee's real name. And then we have Donna Troy, who in this case is Wonder Girl. And I like this going back to the Silver Age type of stuff. And I like the juxtaposition between all the characters. So, of course, Dick is the leader. He always has been, always will be, no matter what Titans iteration that he belongs to. In this case, Donna and Garth are dating, and which is, the Amazon and Atlantis. I guess there's always that overlap with the two mystical things. And then we have Speedy in the back. You can kind of see him right underneath Robin's arm there. Of course, he turns into Arsenal. I think that's Roy Harper. And, he is, in this case, the wild card. So they go on a bunch of adventures, and then Roy and Dick are not having it together. They're just not getting along because Roy wants to grandstand, and Dick is like, no, it's the mission. We're here to save these people. We're not here to grandstand with them. And we see all of the mentors dealing with them. And Batman is like, well, and of course, Roy brings up, he says, we know everybody else's name in the group, but we don't know your name. And we see the reason is when we're having a conversation with Batman, and Batman says, nope, do not tell them your name, period. So this really hasn't gotten into a story yet. It's more of a character building in the group. We're seeing the elements of the group and how they fit together. So there's no real big baddie yet. We have like maybe bad guy of the week kind of thing. I think we have a couple of fights in there. So that's that book. Will it make a good movie? I think it has elements of making a good movie. Yeah, I think that you have this really good dynamic of the team, and we get to see how they have become heroes. How they have been mentored by Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, and Green Arrow, but we don't see Green Arrow in here because he's kind of like too busy for Roy. So we're seeing that a kind of abandonment, which is what's making Roy this anger. Where this anger is coming from? He feels like he's abandoned because everybody else has theirs, but not him. And I don't know much about Bumblebee besides the car. So yeah, I think this has a possibility, depending on where this goes, to being a good movie or a TV show. Because the Titans TV show kind of gone off the rails. I don't like how that's going. This is my only DC book, by the way, because they have that whole night terrorist thing going on, which I can give a crap less about. All right, so then we're going to go into Red Goblin. This is going into Marvel. And Marvel, so this is Normie, which is Norman Osborn's, which is the enemy of Spider-Man. He was the original Green Goblin. But Norman Osborn, and it's his grandson. And he has a symbiote kind of like Carnage and Venom, but his has his own personality as well. So it's like a baby symbiote. So we have basically two children sharing the same form for the most part. And the symbiote's name is Rascal. Venom's alter ego name is Venom. So this would be Rascal, but it's called Red Goblin. So we have this other character that I don't even know how he's alive. He's totally deteriorating. In fact, he's heading up this gang of other goblins, and his jaw is literally falling off to the point where he tells his right-hand girl, who's a young girl, they're all living in the sewer, so they have a gang living in the sewer, to sew his jaw back on. And so that, or at least on the hinge, so it could move. But try to form words without lips. They tried that with Dead Man, and I'm like, that doesn't work, man. You can't talk like this. It just comes out, and you can't. Your lips are what forms the words. So, but anyway, they're going down that road. So Normie's on a little trip, field trip to like the museum with his whole class, and this guy who's deteriorating, the lead, gives his right-hand girl a goblin suit. Looks like Hobgoblin. And so it gives her like super strength and stuff like that. I think she has super strength. I think they all have been injected with something. But anyway, it gives us thing, and but she's called Goblin Knight or whatever. And she shows up looking for the Red Goblin, and then he shows up, and they have a big fight, and she kind of escapes and leads him outside where there's a whole bunch of cops. But meanwhile, the other guy had hired Crossbones, so Crossbones shows up at the end. So yeah, this has been good. There's no way to make a good movie, not with this storyline. So the character. So this is where I kind of go. I'm going to kind of go on a tangent. The character is interesting, and plus the writer constantly does this. He's writing a 10-year-old boy. And then he comes out with dialogue that, vocabulary that a 10-year-old boy would not say. And it takes me out of it. So I think that the character does have, like Venom. Think about it as a kid Venom. So I think there's a market for that. I think this would make actually a pretty good film if we had some other characters in it. If we had like Miles Morales in it or something to that effect, I think that would make a really good film. Where we have these two characters instead of having, Gwen Stacy kind of thing as the other character. We had Normie in here where they started out as villains and had to work together. I think that would make a good movie. I don't know. I think I think yes, but just not with the storyline so far. Unless they would have to rework the storyline. I kind of like the sewer goblin thing, but I think there has to be more fleshed out with it. I do like the hobgoblin type of look. And stuff like that, and I'll kind of show you what that looks like. So in case you were wondering, that's what the goblin thing looks like. Goblin Knight. So yeah, I'm enjoying that, and I'm going to keep reading it. And again, I don't normally read anything Spider-Man based. All right, then we have X-Men: Days of Future Past by Guggenheim, and there's absolutely no reason for this book to exist. Just none. I don't understand it. So if you watch the movie comes from a comic where, Kitty goes back in time. And I don't think it was Kitty. It was Wolverine that went back in time in the movie, but it was Kitty that went back in time. And she saw another, future, and she kind of hooks up with Wolverine there. But this is, again, we have Kitty in kind of leading this group of ragtag or whatever team members, and she and Peter, who's Colossus, have children who have the reverse of their powers. They have a boy and a girl, and the girl has the Colossus powers, and the boy has the phasing powers. And I don't know what they did with. I'm a big Storm fan, and why can't anybody do Storm right? Like, she looks great on the cover, but then you get inside and you're like, what is going on? Yeah, right there. They give her right there. They give her butchy hair. What is going on? Why can't anybody do Storm right? I don't know. So anyway, it shows all these deaths, like Banshee dies right in the beginning. So think of the movie where we have all these deaths happening. That's what happens here. So we have all these deaths happening, and even Spider-Man gets mauled. I don't know how Spider-Man can get mauled, but he does. He tries to, get out of there, and people beat him up, and they kill him. I don't know. It's all kind of weird. There's no reason to go back into this universe to tell the same story over again with a different kind of plot. I don't think I'm really interested. So the original storyline was good. There's no reason to go back to it. Jean is killed at the end. She tries to save Scott, and whatever nuclear explosion blows his eyes out, so he's blind. I don't know, whatever. Let's make it. Already made a good movie. There's no reason to go back. This is no for this one. So then we have. So this is a single issue of Moon Knight. Single issue number 25. It is 90 pages long. Look at that. This is a single issue, $10 for this book. $10. So it has different storylines going on. And the reason I picked this up, Jed MacKay does a good job with Moonlight for the most part. It's okay. People really like it, and I'm like on the middle of the road for it. And so I really like the one with Tigra. I know a lot of people didn't like that one, but that's my favorite. I love that issue. So he and Tigra are dating, but we never really get to see her very often. Not as often as I'd like. I'd love to have her own book. But anyway, so this storyline goes back and forth with this character named the Black Spectre, who's kind of messing him like Batman did with Bane. So he keeps throwing villains at him, old villains that he's kind of resurrected or given powers back to or giving them weapons or whatever, and throwing them at Moon Knight. And Moon Knight, of course, just keeps knocking them out. It's not like Batman, where after a period of time, that's what was so great about Nightfall, was that whole event led up to Batman's back being broken because Bane just kept throwing villains at him because he kept letting them all out of prison. So Batman was so exhausted by the time he faced Bane that he lost. And how brilliant is that? and we had a gradual, arc with that, which we don't get to see in comics very often, where something leads up to a big villain and then the hero loses. So this with Moon Knight, we go back and forth, and I don't see why we had to know. The reason I picked this up was because they teased that we're going to see Layla, who's going to play the Scarab character that we saw in the TV show. And I love the wings and stuff like that they did on the TV show. I wish I had seen more of that, but we only got to see that in like the last episode. But anyway, she's only in here as a human, without powers, without a suit or anything, because they're on some kind of a secret mission. So we're seeing them as spies, and that's interjected with all of the Black Spectre stuff. And then we go to prison, and he meets the previous Black Spectre, and he's like, "Nah, man, it ain't me." Meanwhile, he's getting jealous, so he's the old Black Spectre is going on his own little detective type of thing to find out who it is because he wants to shut him down just the same. So it was good. It was good. I wouldn't say it was great, but it was good. And I don't see how the whole spy thing, even after 90 pages, however long this is, 70 pages, I just, 70 pages. I don't see why we needed that spy stuff of them having gone on a mission with those other people. I don't see how that fit in. But I would have wanted to see more. If I'm going to see 70 pages and I'm paying $10, I want to see a complete story. If you can't tell a complete story in 70 pages, something's wrong. So, or at least a heavy lead up where we have some kind of an ending to lead up to the next piece. So, I like this version of Moon Knight. Of course, he has a dual personality, just like he does on the TV show, which gets kind of confusing. But I don't know. We saw it on TV. Did it work? Not really. I don't think the TV show worked. So this is a little bit more streamlined. And I think that Moon Knight works as a character, right? Kind of like Red Goblin. So it works as a character, but I don't think this would work as a film. It's not concise enough. It's right now it's all over the place. And I think that's my problem with it, is that it's not telling a streamlined story. So I'm going to go with this one the same as I did with Red Goblin, where yes, it would make a good movie for the character, but a totally different story. I love Moon Knight, but I just don't think we've gotten a good story out of him yet. Okay, now we're going to go into 2 Star Wars books, and this is Darth Vader with Dr. Aphra. This was complete garbage. Complete garbage. This is Pack, I think. Greg Pack. And this is garbage. So we have the droids all forming a coalition with one another for everyone that had been killed by Vader. So they all group together and decide that they're going to go after Vader. Okay. So Vader is still on this thing where he can't really control the Force, which is why he has these artifacts that Dr. Aphra have helped him achieve or get. And now we don't have any lightsabers in this at all. And on top of that, he is, I don't understand anything that's really going on, but it's just confusing for no reason. I mean, Vader can't control the Force. The Force is overwhelming him. It doesn't make any sense. But then on top of that, you have all of these droids that have grouped together and say, oh yeah, we're going to go after Vader. What? And then one of them decides that, oh yeah, well, Vader has a piece of me on him because he had to be reconstructed. And which I think that was Vader Down or something like that, one of the comics where he had to reconstruct himself. So he's like, I can control my piece that's embedded in him. So he tries to do that, and of course it backfires. The whole thing was just stupid. It was just stupid. And, Aphra escapes. She's out of there. The murder droids are back. It was just stupid. So, make a good movie? Hell no. Not even a good comic. It's garbage. And then we're on Bounty Hunters. This one was interesting. So they need something from Fett, right? They need a location because Valence's memory is going out. So Fett says, fine, you help me and I'll help you. So he goes to Black Sun and he has a secret agenda which they don't know about, and Fett pretends he's captured by the other bounty hunters. Yeah, okay. Okay. So we're using the oldest trick in the book, and they even mention it where they just haven't been original at all. And so the big fire, the whole issue is one big firefight, and then Boba Fett reveals that the head of Black Sun, that they're in a civil war with his cousin, and with the head of Black Sun's cousin, and that the cousin hired Boba Fett to kill him. So he achieves his mission, which I thought was kind of a cool kind of a twist because we really had no idea why he was there. And the firefight ends with minimal tragedy, and that's about the extent of it. They give him Boba Fett gives him Tonka or whatever the location, and stomps off, and that's the end of that. Meanwhile, her wife is feeling abandoned and has a boxing match. I don't know, it's kind of stupid. I kind of hope Boba Fett sticks around because he adds a nice little, thing to this group that's really missing something. So, like Bosk and all, it's missing something. I don't like that night guy at all. Will it make a good movie? I think Boba Fett should have made a good show. That should have made a good show, but they screwed the hell out of it. And having the bounty hunters all together, like they should never have put him on Tatooine the entire show. But I guess they were afraid that it was going to be too much like Mandalorian, so they gave him something different. That didn't work. But so this would be more like a Mandalorian, but a group together of bounty hunters. I think that would kind of work because they get pissed at one another, they backstab one another. I think that would work as a good show or a good movie, and as long as you didn't screw it up like they've been doing. So I like this, but it just didn't go anywhere. That's the problem. Okay, so I wanted to show this to you because I picked this up. Now this is Hulk, but it shows $3.99, but it's number like 108 or whatever. So this is way back in like the 80s. Could have been in the late 70s, but I think it's the early 80s. Maybe, I don't know. I should have looked that up ahead of time. But I think it's maybe late 70s. I don't know. But anyway, it's right around that time. It was pretty interesting. So you start out with Hulk trying to escape everybody, and he wants to be left alone. And he runs into this girl who his brother has turned into a Wendigo, and she wants to change him back, but she needs somebody else to take the curse away. So that's Hulk. So they drug him basically, but he wakes up too early. And meanwhile, they're in Canada, and you know who's in Canada. So this is the first appearance. So here's him fighting the Wendigo. So you can tell how old the artwork is. And they even have, this is a facsimile edition. So they even have the all the old pages from when it was released in the 80s. But anyway, so we have, some pretty good fight stuff. It's not Kirby. Kirby's fight stuff is way better. But at the very end, look who shows up. That's the first appearance of Wolverine. That was his first costume. And so if you ever want to know what Wolverine looked like when he was first created, that's what he was looked like. So, yeah, it was very wordy, but that's how the books were back then. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. So, all right, so now I'll try to get through these independents pretty quick. So, Haunt You Till the End, or To the End. Nothing's still going on with this book. So this is the one that was about the billionaire. The world is going to crap because of global warming or whatever the thing is. And so then on top of that, he wants to go visit this haunted house. So he gets military with it. So it's kind of like Aliens, where he has the military group together, but it's also like Jurassic Park because they're going to try to, contain this area. And he has the scientists there and stuff like that he's hired. And it's just really nothing's happening. So I'm going to say no for making a movie out of this because I'm already bored. I'm bored. So if I'm bored by issue 2 and there's only 6 issues, no. So I don't know if I'm even going to continue that one anyway. I'm interested to see if it actually ever guts anywhere. So maybe I'll keep going with it, but I'm not excited about it. All right, Star Trek Echoes. This is the one about the Mirror Mirror universe coming. So we have a Mirror Mirror universe. Uhura and Chekhov. Chekhov is evil. Uhura is after him. He's got a weapon of mass destruction. They go into the neutral zone. The Romulans pick them up, and they go to try to pick him up, the evil Chekhov, and so the weapon doesn't go to the Romulans. So Kirk and the regular Uhura get captured purposely And then they escape. Of course, they escape in the easiest way possible. They pretend to be sick, and that part's stupid. Because then they're walking around the station, the Romulan station, and what? They don't have security cameras? So that part's stupid. He couldn't think of anything about how to get them out of prison. So, but what got interesting in the middle was that there was a little firefight, and Chekhov got wounded, and they escaped in the shuttle, except for Kirk and Uhura still on the station, and they get back to the Enterprise. There was a good little exchange between Spock and the Admiral, who was chastising him, and she knows that Spock is hiding something, and Spock is like, "I'm in Vulcan, I can't lie." And even the Admiral's like, "Yeah, okay." So I thought the exchange was really good. So they get Chekhov back, but then they realize that he needs a blood transfusion, and he's got a very specific type of blood, of course. So the only person that they can get to heal him up, to get blood from, is the other Chekhov that's still on the station, or else he's going to die. So they have him on. They opened him up, and they can't help him. So that's where I thought that was really interesting. So now they're going to have to go back and get the other Chekhov. Will it make a good movie? I think with some streamlining, it could be good, and I think some plot point changes, like escaping from the thing and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it would make probably not a movie, but probably a couple, because it's not epic enough to make a movie out of. But I think a couple of episode TV arc would be good out of this. So yeah, I still hate the costumes from the first motion picture. All right, now this one is another thickie. All right, it is another very thick one. And I got people told me to go pick this up, that everybody liked it. And I loved like the 30s, 40s kind of look and feel. So that's what we got here. So the artwork is pretty decent. It's pretty sexy, the whole bit. So we have this down and out pilot that does tricks and stuff like that. He's trying to make some money. So he hooks up with this redhead who says, "Yeah, I'm going to put the word out to the next town so that they'll give you money. You just do a couple of tricks, blah, blah, blah." So he lands badly and ends up ruining this wedding, which I thought was pretty cool. And so the groom is pissed off. So the bride ends up waiting for him at his plane and says, "Get me out of here. Get me out of here. I don't want to marry this guy." So she basically talks him into taking her with him. And, of course, the other people are after him now and thinking he kidnapped her. And they end up they land and they go to a party. So it's almost like the Great Gatsby in planes and stuff like that right now, because she's like a socialite. So I have no idea where this is going. I have no idea where this is going. But it's interesting, and I like it. Would it make a good movie? Yeah, I think so. Depending on where it goes from here. But so far, the setup, I think it's different. I think it's really different. So, yeah, I think so. I love the 30s type of look. And sticking with that same time period, we have the Rocketeer. I love the first Rocketeer movie. I know it was Disney, back when Disney could actually make movies. But I thought this movie was really good at the time. And, who doesn't like Jennifer Connelly being sexy? But in this, it's not Jenny, which is Jennifer Connelly's character. It's Betty Page. When, in the original comics, was Betty Page his girlfriend? I missed that somewhere. Not that I'm complaining, because we have Betty Page as his girlfriend. So, but we have the same type of thing where he goes onto the set, to visit her and all this other stuff. But what we have is the Nazis have actually created their own rocket pack. So they have their own little army they're putting together, and somehow they make it from Germany to the United States to get Peeve, because they need him for some reason. I guess they need some kind of engineer to finalize stuff. So yeah, I'm liking this, and I would love to see another Rocketeer. Billy Campbell just played a great Rocketeer too. Anyway, I love it. It's really good. So that's a yes for me. Okay, so then we're into our last couple of Kickstarters. So this is Born of Blood. I know that I'm jumping on to issue 3, even though the actual writer's name isn't actually on here. So it's this is a Greek thing because we have Leonidas in it. So Sparta, and they're captured, and they get out. So it's this girl and Leonidas escape, and they're in the middle of escaping. They're in this dungeon getting tortured or whatever. So it's Drew from Comics League. I know he wrote this, even though his name's not actually on it. It says Dolan. That must be his name. So yeah, almost the whole thing takes place in this dungeon. But what I don't like is the art. I think the art is very amateur. I don't like the art at all. I mean, the cover is great, but the artwork, and God, they stab the guy in the eye and all this stuff. But anyway, the artwork is very amateur. So I really have no idea where it's going. But then they end up on a precipice, where Leonidas falls, and I guess he's all calls for help. But so I really don't know what the storyline is, but it's okay. Nothing special, but the artwork. I really hope they get a new artist in there. All right, so then we got Hypergeist. So this is another book from Kickstarter. So this one here, as far as making a movie out of the Born of Blood, I don't see it yet. I don't see anything yet. Because again, all I saw was a scene inside the dungeon. But Hypergeist. So this was weird. So we have 30 pages here and no story. So it's about robots, right? Androids, sex android, etc. And I guess they're totally anatomically correct where they can actually feel pleasure. I don't know a robot that can feel pleasure. But I guess they're kind of hooked into this general thing where they don't have their own will. So this Hypergeist drive, she's looking for this Hypergeist drive so that she can be removed from that central core and have her own autonomy. So that's what that is. But the first, I guess I don't care what I show you guys on my channel. I know people that don't want to show you nudity and stuff like that. But, so the first 8 pages out of 30 pages is one big sex scene. One big sex scene. Why? I have no idea. But anyway, she has the skin is off her hand. And then she goes to visit this guy, and then she goes to try to steal stuff and, infiltrate this thing. And then she has, what I thought was kind of cool was that she has this ribbon that's nano, so she can make weapons out of it. It's interesting. But there's no story here. Out of 30 pages, we have 3 scenes. So, and I don't even understand the ending for the most part. We have this weird explosion happen and stuff like that. So I'm going to say no for this one because nothing happens, and I don't really see a plot here at all. So I kind of like the character might be neat, but we don't know anything about her, except that she's a robot. So I'm going to say no for that one. All right. So I'm going to recap real quick and stuff like that. But remember to like and subscribe, and remember to hit the bell button. And so that you can be notified of other things. I'm trying to grow the channel out. I'm trying to get monetized. So help me out by watching some of my videos. Watch them all the way through. And I am moving, so you're going to start seeing this stuff just go away. And I am, if you're a fan of statues and things like that, I am going to be selling Marvel Now. I have a Gamora. I have Wonder Woman. I have all these bunch of statues that I'm selling that I'm going to put up on eBay. So if you want any of those, I can send you a link once I put them up. I'm going to try to put them up tonight or tomorrow. So I have to be in Atlanta on the 10th. So out of Los Angeles completely. But let's recap on the things I thought might be good movie or television shows. Rocketeer. That's a yes. Oh, I missed the thing. Barnstormers. I'm pretty much thinking yes. Echoes TV miniseries, not movie. Bounty Hunters could be a good little series, but you saw what they did with Boba Fett, so who the hell knows? Moon Knight, maybe not this story, but I would love to see Moon Knight done correctly. Red Goblin. Yeah, I would love to see this one as well. And Teen Titans, I don't know yet, so I'm going to keep that one to the side. So out of all that, probably maybe half of them, not even half. And most of that's based on character, because Red Goblin and Moon Knight, not so much these stories, but these characters, I think, could translate well. All right, so back to my own stuff. I had to fulfill with some of my stuff, so I'm kind of dwindling over here too. So Lords of LA is my vampire mob in the 50s. And we are, I just got page 1 in for the 4th book. The 3rd book is done now. So this is volume 1, issue 1 and 2 in here, 48 pages. So the next one's already done, and now we're on to the 4th one. So I'm going to be launching this one probably once I land in Atlanta. I'm going to launch that. Then we have my sci-fi series, which is Destiny Aurora, which is my eclectic group of space cops, basically. And we have a whole bunch of twists and turns to this thing. This is an entire story. It's 150 pages for only $20. And the link will be below in the description about where you can get this stuff. And then my one that had the actual sleeve on it, the dust cover, I had to fulfill. So I'm waiting for my new batch to come in. So this one doesn't have the dust cover on it. But this is my fantasy novel, Tales of Ravenna, the Iron Witch. It is a full 400-page novel, and I'm getting some good feedback on that. So I'm waiting for the last one to come in. Last thing, and I'll finish fulfilling everybody. If you're watching this and you haven't gotten yours yet, that's why I'm just waiting, and I'm kind of hoping that I get it before I move, or else it's going to get forwarded to me. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think, if you're reading any of these comics, or if you have other comics that you think that are you reading that you think are very cinematic and would love to see in television. Let me know that one too, because I'm always open to reading new shit. All right, thanks, guys. Have a good one, and thanks again for watching.